Saturday morning, and we are in a park somewhere in England. And whereabouts in England are we?
I think we're in a place called Middlesbrough.
Yeah, that's right, we're in Albert Park, Middlesbrough, to do the Albert parkrun. I think going back in history, this is the third parkrun we ever did. We'd done Cardiff and Bushy Park, then we saw this was on back in 2008 and came in August. How many runners were there that day?
57.
57. And out of those 57 runners, who finished first of all the females? And I just made the podium in second. I think actually it's my second fastest ever parkrun time was set on this course, 16:41.
And this was one of the original officially measured time trial courses. There were a few of them around the country, wasn't there, at the time?
Yeah, I think about 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was originally set up as a time trial before it changed into parkrun. It's a fast course, 2 and a bit laps, and it appears at number 25 in Tim Gross's fastest parkrun list, and therefore it's the fastest in what's categorised as the north of England, so the fastest parkrun in the north. So wide path, smooth tarmac, and lots of really interesting features in this very historic park, and something unique on a parkrun course, which I'll show you in a little while. So who do we have here? Well, the one and only Brian Clough, born in Middlesbrough, and it's the only statue of a sporting icon I can think of on any parkrun course. That is a genuine lack of knowledge on my part. I couldn't think of any others, so if you know of any, please let me know in the comments.
Warming up with my hands in the jacket.
It's cold up north. So the aforementioned Mr. Clough once said, "I wouldn't say I was the best manager in the business, but I was in the top one." Now, talk of the top one, we'd looked at the 5k app before coming here and seen that the top female 60 time of all time in nearly 800 parkruns at Albert Park, Middlesbrough stood at 21:54. So we're going to see if Dawn could get in the top one in that category, and also how far she could get on the age grading results for today, and finally if she could make the top 100 of the all-time age grading of over, I think, 17,000 people who have run Albert Park, Middlesbrough since it was set up.
3, 2, 1, go!
So the course at Albert Park consists of one small loop that is about 1 kilometre, and then 2 larger loops of about 2 kilometres each. Predominantly flat, but there is a bit of a drag on one of the kilometres going up to the far edge of the park on each loop.
So I knew what pace I needed to hit to actually get that female 60 record. So at the beginning I decided I was going to set off with intent and get into pace as quickly as possible. You can see here we're going along the long straight bit before we take a right hand turn, and I had checked out a few of the females around me, as you do, at the start, and I knew there was 2 in front of me at this point that looked possibly of a similar age category. So despite the wide paths, you'll see in a moment, I nearly took a run into a bench. It wasn't congested, but it was very busy at the start of the run. So I found myself having to weave a little bit at this point as I tried to find my position in amongst the other runners. Conditions this morning were very good. There was a slight breeze. It was actually quite chilly, but for running hard, it was ideal conditions. I'm not very good at taking notice of my watch when I'm running hard, if I'm truthful. So John had decided he would monitor the pace for me. I tend to just have a little look when it flashes up at the first mile, and then I see what I'm on, and then I try to adjust my pace accordingly. As many of you who watch these videos know, I'm very much a run to feel kind of person. I think you can only go as fast as your legs will take you, and I'm pretty experienced at knowing how to pace a 5k, a 10k, half marathon and even a marathon. So yes, I like to run to feel, and I like to build into the run and know that I've got a little bit left for the final mile. I always like to think that I finish stronger than I start off.
So you'll notice that I've come into view now just in front of Dawn. That's because the pace I was seeing on my watch, I was thinking we perhaps need to be 2 or 3 seconds per mile quicker. I had my watch set up to measure the average pace within each kilometre, and knowing that on the first kilometre a little bit lower in the park than when we start, I was hoping to get a little bit under 7-minute mile pace for the first kilometre.
So yes, John was pulling slightly ahead of me. I wasn't too concerned at this point. However, I have to say that right from the off, my legs weren't feeling that great, but I did think I would warm up into the run. I think it's possibly because I had done an explosive hill session on Thursday evening, and I'd done 10 miles yesterday and had a deep massage. So probably the legs were feeling the effects of all those.
So the pace requirement for our running quicker than a 21:54 5k is 4 minutes and 22.5 seconds per kilometre. So let's see how we come up in kilometre number 1, which we're just coming up to now. So I can see that I'm actually about 1 second inside pace, but obviously about 1 second in front of Dawn here. So she's bang on target pace.
So John had told me we're bang on pace here, but there is a little bit of a climb, and in all honesty, at 1 kilometre I wasn't expecting my legs to be feeling this heavy, but I decided I was going to keep pushing and breathing hard, but I'm going to give it all I got, and if I fall short, it's not going to be for lack of trying.
So knowing we need to see an average pace of about 7-minute miling on the watch, it did start to drift up to 7:15s and 7:20s going up the slope. You can see me leaning into it. In fact, you can see the fella pushing the buggy really leaning into it to my left. So I knew, there I'm checking my watch, I knew we could drift a little bit because this kilometre is a net uphill going to the far end of the park, and then when we come back round, the 3rd kilometre and the 5th kilometre will be a net downhill. So I don't want to lose too much, but I am conscious we don't need to stick to a prescribed preset pace.
You can hear my breathing. It really is quite hard at this point. I was starting to feel a little bit negative, and I had to keep bringing my mind back to, you can do this, Dawn, you just got to dig in. I mean, this is only a parkrun, guys, but you know, sometimes you just have to give what you got, and my pride wouldn't let me give up.
Yes, folks, that's the sound of somebody enjoying a low-key fun community event. And that, folks, is the sound of Dawn laughing next to me as I made that comment. So as we leave Dawn struggling in kilometre 2 of this run, I'll just take you through a little bit of information about this lovely park. So it's called Albert Park, obviously named after Prince Albert, the consort of Queen Victoria. I was just about to dive into a few more facts, but Dawn has just passed me some information on Albert Park in Melbourne instead. But I think I'll leave that to one side and concentrate on the Middlesbrough iteration of Albert Park. So this park was opened in 1868 by Prince Arthur, the Duke of Connaught, who was actually the son of Prince Albert and Queen Victoria. It was originally used by Middlesbrough Football Club before they moved to nearby Ayresome Park, but I think there was too much damage being done to the park by the footballers and the spectators. So when we get to the top of the park, we'll see some of the interesting historical features, but I'll hand you back to Dawn and let you know how she's going in her run.
Yes, Dawn is working very hard, as you can see, and wishing she was somewhere else at this precise moment. And once again, I'm trying to get onto John's back, a bit like I was at Weymouth Parkrun 2 weeks ago. And I have to say, although Weymouth Parkrun is harder, it actually felt easier than what it feels today.
So just coming up to the top end of the park now, passing a clock tower on our left, and on the right there you've got a sundial which actually tells the time in London, New York City and Melbourne. So the people in Albert Park Melbourne can sync their watches with the people at Albert Park Middlesbrough. So through 2k, 4:27.2 there, 5 seconds down on target pace, but I'm not too massively concerned at the minute in terms of pace, because I know that's been an uphill kilometre and we're going to be going downhill. I am concerned at how hard I can hear Dawn working, and the fact that every time I pull away by a second or two, she really can't come with me. You can see me keep looking back here, trying to encourage her on, so I'm hoping we can catch up sometime on this downhill 3rd kilometre. And I'll look at my watch again.
Yes, the far end of the park on a downhill gradient. Well, it's not downhill, it's a mild, gradual slope down. It does give me a little bit of relief, and I try to push into the pace and get closer to John. You can see I am getting closer here. I'm coming up on his shoulder, but I know when we get to the bottom, I'm going to have to start working again because it starts to climb again.
So kilometre 3, you can see we've made up another second there. Remember, we lost 5 going up. We had about 1 in hand at the bottom. We've made another one. So probably about 3 seconds off the record pace for the female 60 Albert parkrun record. But, you know, as Nick Bester often says, if you watch this channel, you get the last kilometre for free. We know this is going to be a tough 4th kilometre. So let's lean into it and just get some decent numbers on the board to leave us in with a chance of hitting that record time at the end of the 5th kilometre.
Just before we were about to hit the final lap, I'd passed a couple of women, but in all honesty, I had no idea what position I was in. For me, this was just about my time. It was a solo time trial, and I was trying to run as fast as I could on the day.
And although Dawn's struggling along, there's clearly somebody running next to her, having the time of his life, and giving a nice little gesture for the camera there. Thank you.
I really was hurting quite bad at this point, and I was telling myself to stay strong. Come on, Dawn, you can do this. I'm really one to talk to herself when the going gets tough. I find it helps. It helps to keep me moving and helps to keep me pushing, when all I really wanted to do was to stop.
Back to a little historical interlude. We're soon to pass on the left-hand side. It's after this marshal, a cannon. You can just see it there pointing out at me. And that was captured by British forces at the siege of Sevastopol during the Crimean War of the mid-1850s.
Come on. And as you can hear, I've got my own little battle going on as I make my way to the far end of the park again.
And went through kilometre 4, 4:29. So by my calculations, we are about 10 seconds off pace. So we know we get the last kilometre for free, but we know we're going to have to work very hard here and make up quite a lot of ground. You can see I've pulled a little way in front of Dawn because I know that we're going to have to wind this up quite considerably, and keep looking at my watch because I know we just need to squeeze those extra few seconds as we go down the slope on kilometre 5 at the far end of the park.
I can hear John shouting numbers at me, but at this point I can tell you I was not processing anything. Oh my God, I was working so hard. I was just trying to chase him down, thinking, come on Dawn, push, you can do this. As you can hear, I'm telling myself yes, and hoping that I'm going to make it to the finish in the desired time.
Art of helping somebody with pacing here. You can't get too far in front where they end up totally demoralised, but you can't just drift too far off pace where you're just a waste of space and not helping people get there. So you can see I keep surging ahead, trying to hope Dawn will be dragging along with me, and then keep dropping back so she doesn't get too demoralised as I disappear down into the distance.
Come on! Yes! So, do you do any kind of shouting when you're in your runs? Do you have any mantras that you use to help you get to the finish, to motivate you? If you do, share them with us in the comments below.
So you can see I know we're in sort of, if not last chance saloon, the one next to last chance saloon. I keep trying to force the pace down this slope. I know in a minute we're going to do a right turn. You can see it here. And we're just over 200 metres to go, I think, in this park run. I'll tell Dawn to get sprinting now because I know it is really going to be touch and go as to whether we hit that 21:54 or below. So let's just hear somebody enjoying a non-competitive community event, shall we? Sorry. So how was your parkrun today, folks? Did you have as much fun as Dawn did? So here's the thing, my watch said 21:52, Dawn says 21:54. We have to await the official results to see if she's just missed out, equalled or bettered that female 60 course record. So somebody who did enjoy his parkrun today was this chap who came to introduce himself to us at the end. 17:15, a new course PB, so well done to you, sir. It was also nice to chat to a couple of other people who recognised us from the channel. We love talking to people at parkruns and races around the country. So what time do you have on your watch?
So my watch says 21:54.
And what is the existing female 60 course record here?
21:54.
Ooh, so we've got an agonising wait to see if they round it up to 21:55, or if you stopped your watch slightly after the line.
Yes.
So it's 21:53, or bang on 21:54.
Yes.
We'll be quick and refresh every few minutes.
I have to say I couldn't have worked any harder today. I tried. It was just the legs were heavy. There wasn't any extra gears or zip in them today. But hey ho, let's wait and see. Oh, and look at that. As you can see, I've equalled the course record, which was set back in 2009. I just needed one more second. Oh my god, why couldn't I have run that one more second? But I didn't, and so we have an equal female 60 category record. And as you can see on the results, I surprisingly finished in first position. Now I am surprised by that, but obviously I'm really chuffed with it too.
And that 87% put Dawn top of the age grading table for today, and in fact put a 60th on the all-time list for Albert Parkrun. So real hats off to her, but wow, equaling that record. I think there might be a return visit to Albert Park on the cards at some point.
I've got to get over this one first.
So we hope you've enjoyed joining us at the wonderful Albert Parkrun in Middlesbrough, full of interest, history and hard effort if you want it to be, and some lovely people we met too. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you would like to see our further parkrun adventures and races we do around the country, then please subscribe to the channel. So until next time, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.